How y'all doing today? Today, I want to do kind of a compare and contrast shootout guitar video. Three iconic guitars, the Telecaster, the Gibson Les Paul, and the Fender Stratocaster. Just by looking at the shape of these, you've seen all three of these before. It doesn't really matter what genre of music you like, unless you like classical or polka. You've probably seen these guitars in the hands of some extremely talented folks. So I'm going to start off with the Telecaster, and this is actually the first solid body electric guitar that was ever made. And I believe it was introduced in 1951. It's the first guitar that had a solid body, pickups, and it's really just a workhorse guitar. And for many years, I really didn't care for them that much, but I do now. Initially, these guitars were very favored by the dominant music of the time, which was kind of like a country music that we wouldn't necessarily be completely familiar with, but gradually began to transition into rock and roll type players during the late 50s, early 60s. And it's really maintained its popularity throughout. This particular one I bought about 6 months ago. You might have seen an earlier video about that. It's got a couple extra bells and whistles. When I play it, you'll hear what the difference is. It's more of a meaty, rude kind of noise, a meatier, ruder kind of guitar. Basics of this guitar is that it's got a volume and a tone knob. It's got a selector switch, so you can pick between this pickup, both of them, or this one. And that's kind of a nice thing. And you can do some kind of cool stuff with flipping it off and on too. It's a really fun guitar and classic stuff. I mean, like Bruce Springsteen kind of reinvigorated these in the 70s, but all kinds of country people, like Jason Isbell plays one among his many different guitars. Jimmy Page played one in the early years of Led Zeppelin. Just a classic guitar, one that has stood the test of time for sure. The final thing I would say about it is that it has a reputation of being really robust and tough, something that in 100 years, somebody probably will be able to play this guitar. Fender Telecaster, great guitar. The next guitar I wanted to walk you through is the Gibson Les Paul. And this is a Les Paul Studio. It's a solid body guitar. Prior to the early 50s with the Telecaster and the Les Paul, you had electric guitars, but they were hollow body. There were limits to how much you could turn them up, problems with them being on stage and things like that. Really great guitars under the right conditions. But for the needs of the musicians at the time, you needed to be able to get louder and louder to compete with drums and horn sections and everything else. As guitar became a more prominent instrument within bands, these kinds of solid body guitars really became more popular. This came out in, I believe, 1952, the original Gibson Les Paul. And the basics haven't really changed that much. You've got two pickups, you've got a selector switch, again, much like the Telecaster, where you can switch between them or have some combination of the two. This guitar also has the push-pull, does it? Yeah, this has the push-pull pots too. Yeah, there we go, which enable you to kind of choose a different wiring path. It's just a different sound. It's a classic. I mean, again, you think about all the 70s guys that play Les Pauls, Slash in Guns N' Roses play Les Paul. Tons of people played Les Pauls. Again, another kind of iconic thing. I bought this one about 2 years ago. I played a lot, and it's really fun, very stable, lots of sustain. Both this and the Telecaster that I have rosewood fingerboards, which I just feel, they feel slightly more comfortable to me for some reason. I love my Stratocaster and I'll always play it. This feels, it's a little easier for some reason to bend, to hit chords properly, to do all the things, probably because the neck's a little bigger. and the fretboard is a little softer for some reason, just a tiny bit. It makes a difference, and it's a cool looking guitar. You can get them in all kinds of fancy types of finishes and extra doodads and things. I went with this one because it gets the basic things down of what a Les Paul is supposed to be. That's the Gibson Les Paul. Finally, we have the Fender Stratocaster. This is rock and roll in so many ways. This blew the doors open on a whole range of things. Interestingly enough, though, none of these guitars was particularly popular right away. It took them maybe a year, year and a half before things began to pick up. The Stratocaster here, I bought this when I was 13. You know, I saved up a bunch of money. I think it was like 200 bucks. And I bought this, and so I'm very fortunate to still have it. It's a 1973, 72. The neck is from 69. I really don't know exactly what the year is. I tried to look up the serial number and stuff, and it's kind of messy and it's hard to tell. But it's some combination of parts that they had lying around in the late 60s, early 70s. I recently had noiseless pickups installed. These are from Fender, the manufacturer. It required a bit of work, so I haven't had this guitar for about 2 months as it's been getting worked on. I just got it back the other day, and it's just really fun and kind of a new breath of life, so to speak. Noticeable things about the Stratocaster is it has a 5-way switch, which means I can choose amongst various combinations of pickups, and I've got a volume and 2-tone. I don't have any kind of push-pull pots on these things or anything like that. The Strat has the tremolo bar, which really should be called a vibrato bar, but whatever. What that allows you to do is all that kind of like dive bombing stuff, and also subtle changes in pitch. Of course, like somebody like Jimi Hendrix is an iconic figure who played many, many Strats, and he really took it into the stratosphere, to use a pun. It's remained a popular guitar really ever since. I rarely get sentimental about things, but this guitar has been through everything in my life with me, and I still have it, which is pretty amazing. It's a little beat up, but it's a tool, and it gets the job done, and it always has. Now I'm going to stop yapping on, and I'll play you a few things using each guitar so you can kind of hear the difference. That's it. So we played all three of them. You can hear the difference between them, and of course I'm not dialing in all the different pickup options and all that kind of stuff, but in the end any one of these is great, and if you're in the market to buy a guitar, you couldn't do wrong with any of them. That said, whenever you're thinking about buying a guitar, I would really encourage you to go to a local store and try them out. Buying guitars online can be great, or it can really be disappointing. And so go to a legacy store in your town and sit down with the guy and talk about what you're thinking about buying and try some things out, because the feel really matters. And in each of these cases, that's exactly what I did. With the exception of Les Paul, I went to the Gibson garage in Nashville and bought that one straight from its birthplace, so to speak. I can't emphasize that enough. Of support your local guitar stores, get stuff there. It really matters. Pick the one that works best for you. That's really what it comes down to. There is no superiority amongst any of them. It's just real preference. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this, and have a great one. Talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.